Hey there, this is William Green. These are my green pets, and I am here in the greenhouses of Fantasy Orchids in Louisville, Colorado. We're going to be looking around at some of the things that are in bloom today. A lot of beautiful things in bloom on this wonderful spring day. This is Max 10, Maxillaria tenuifolia, the coconut orchid from Central America. Nice specimen plant here hanging on the wall. Wonderful coconut fragrance on that. Makes me miss my plant I had to get rid of last year, but some of you are enjoying pieces of that plant now. This is a Dendrobium nobile type, and this one is called Fairy Moon. And not only does it just have nice, delicate flowers, but it's also got fragrance. Now this is a hybrid Cattleyas that I do not... It was like Cattleya Rojo by Cattleya Tangerine Dream or something like that. It was a cross. It actually kind of reminded me of the Dark Waters clone that I had at the botanical garden that I worked at last year. Very pretty plant, lots and lots of red flowers. Did not get too much of a fragrance out of it. Then this one is actually a new hybrid. One of the owners at Fantasy showed me this plant as one of their first to bloom out. This is Vanda Yano Blue, and it's just got wonderful, delicate, bluish purple speckles over a white background. Really impressive flower. Looks like porcelain, painted china or something like that. If we move over into the private area of the greenhouse, we've got quite a few Phragmopediums that are in bloom here. And this one I believe is Cape Sunset. Don't quote me on that, but I think it might be. Tons and tons of beautiful pink flowers in this area. This is a lovely, lovely Cattleya. The hybrid name is Mott Spot, and the clonal name is Paradise. It just really grabs your attention when you walk by those beautiful speckled leaves. Nice fragrance to go with it. Very impressive little Cattleya. Walking a little deeper into the greenhouse, into the jungle, we find this spectacular flower of Cattleya ludimaniana. This is the blue version, Cerulean. And it just looks like an angel. Just a big, floofy angel. Oh, we're looking up the angel's skirt. Okay, never mind. Forget that reference. These Cattleyas species have been captivating collectors for centuries. And speaking of crazy, look at this Bulbophyllum. This is Galaxy Star. And you know this flower is going to be good just because of the bud. Look how cool that bud is. So when that opens up, I'll be sure to show you guys what that looks like. Okay, well, let's go over to my green pets. This is my little collection here of various odds and ends. And really nothing in bloom right now. Few buds though. This is Paphiopedilum tonsum, and I just got this plant back in October, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that flower looks like. Just love it when those hairy buds start pushing up and getting ready to bloom. This is a Paphiopedilum callosum, and it's actually a sibling of a plant that I had last year that I actually had to sell off, and then I got another one, and it was a sibling from the same cross. Now this one's actually pretty exciting. This plant doesn't look like much. This is a Paph villosum, but deep down in those leaf crevices I can see something swelling up and pushing out. Might just be another leaf. I believe that these plants typically bloom in the fall and the autumn rather than in the spring, but I'm just happy to see it doing something, growing, pushing something out. I've had this plant for 4 or 5 years now, and grown it from a seedling, and I'm really looking forward to it blooming. Now this one is Paph appletonianum. It's been in bloom since the end of February, and the flower's starting to fade. The colors are fading. You can start to see some, browning on the petals at the tips there. So its time is about done, but it's done really well, and it's just been a nice little cheery flower to have there for the past month. Now over to Hal. This is the Bulbophyllum echinolabium that I've had for several years. It just started blooming for me last year, but man, when it started, it has kept going. And that'll open up in a couple of, a week or so probably. But the big exciting thing this week is this Bulbophyllum Winlandianum. It was also a recent acquisition, got it in October. And it started to put out some new growths this spring, which is pretty normal for bulbos, at least in my experience. But then as a total surprise, this flower bud started pushing out of a new growth that hadn't even finished growing yet. You can see the pseudobulb of the new growth hasn't even started to push out. So that's unusual for me. Most of my bulbos, in fact all of my bulbos, don't even think about flowering until the new growths are completed. But this one is different, so that could be an interesting candidate for breeding if you wanted a Bulbophyllum that bloomed more regularly, or maybe in the spring instead of in the fall. This is another little Bulbophyllum. This is Antinifrum, and I showed you guys this plant a few weeks ago because I had seen 3 different growths push out and then rot off. And here's the 4th growth. And I repotted the plant. I've been treating it with hydrogen peroxide. I'm hoping that the new growth will actually develop and not rot off. All right, let's look at the Cattleyas seedlings. They're looking pretty good. Lots and lots of new growth, new roots. This leaf has finally cracked open, and as you can see, we've been monitoring this one for a few weeks. There is no sheath inside. Now, it is by far the largest leaf that any of these Cattleyas seedlings have put out yet, but I'm very hopeful. So the only possibility for a flower this year is going to be this little bud, this little growth right here. If this one grows into a complete leaf, it may bloom. Let's go on over to the Catasetums. These are different Catasetini hybrids. And we got new growth pushing out. That's good. Springtime growth. And the advice given to me is to keep these plants completely dry until their new roots are several inches, more than 10 centimeters at least, long. And it's really difficult because you want to water them as they're showing new growth, but the experts recommend do not do it. So you know what? I'm going to do what the experts say. I'm going to not water these things probably until middle of May. Now this little guy is another dormant orchid coming out of dormancy. It's Molasses latifolia, also known as Ophrydis. The new growth is pushing out there. It's really interesting looking growth. It's got kind of this greenish color, but then it's got these purplish speckles go on it too. And it's actually starting to push out new roots. You can't see them very well, but that plant, I would fully expect it to be in bloom in the next couple months. They grow pretty quickly. And that's it for this week, guys. There's actually a lot of exciting things happening all over my collection. Not necessarily flowers, but growth especially. That's really exciting. So I hope that you'll continue tuning in, and I hope that your plants are doing well. And I hope to see you next week. So until then, I am William Green. These are my green pets, and we'll see you next time. Bye.